Hello, my friend, and welcome. If you've been studying English, practicing, watching videos, repeating words, but still feel stuck, this episode is for you. Because today, we're not just talking about grammar. We're going deeper into the real reason your English isn't improving the way you hoped. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about your accent. And it's definitely not because you're too old, too slow, or not talented enough. There's something else, something no one talks about. And once you understand it, you'll see you're learning in a whole new way. So stay with me, because this is more than just an English lesson. This is about rebuilding your confidence. This is about using your voice without fear. This is about learning with peace instead of pressure. Let's begin this journey together, one word at a time, one honest step at a time. Let's find your voice again. Why am I not improving? You've asked yourself that more than once. Maybe you've asked it this week, maybe even today. You're trying. You're watching videos. You're writing things down. You're repeating words. You're downloading apps. You're taking notes. But still something feels stuck. You still hesitate when you speak. You still forget basic vocabulary. You still feel nervous in real conversations. You still don't sound like those fluent people on YouTube. And it's frustrating because you care. You've been trying for months, maybe even years. And now you're tired of trying. You want answers. You want results. You want to feel like you're finally getting somewhere. But deep down, you keep wondering, what's wrong with me? You're not the problem. Let's get this straight from the beginning. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not bad at languages. And your brain is not too old. You are not the problem. The real reason you're not improving in English isn't about talent. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about how long you've studied. It's about something deeper, something simpler, something that most people never talk about. And once you understand it, everything will start to change. This is not a grammar lesson. This episode is different. I'm not going to give you a long grammar explanation. I'm not going to tell you to memorize 1,000 words this week. I'm not going to pretend that English is easy, because it's not. What I am going to give you is the truth. A truth that's been hiding under all the textbooks. A truth that's buried under the pressure, the expectations, and the noise. And once you see that truth, you'll finally understand what's been holding you back. Not your accent, not your level, not your brain, something else. What English feels like right. Now, let's talk about the feeling first. Maybe this sounds familiar. You watch English videos, but you only understand half. You feel proud, then confused, then tired. You speak a little, but only when you're sure. You repeat phrases in your head, but freeze when someone asks a question. You've studied so much. But when it's time to talk, the words just disappear, and worst of all, you compare yourself. You look at other people and think, why are they improving, and I'm not? What's wrong with me? Maybe I'll never be good at English. That feeling, it's heavy, and it's real. The first big truth. Let me tell you something simple but powerful. English is not the problem. Your brain is not the problem. The method is not always the problem. The real problem is, you're not learning in a way that connects with your life. You're trying to improve English while living in survival mode, while overwhelmed, while comparing, while afraid of mistakes, while carrying guilt, while fighting time. You are not only learning a language. You are managing emotion. You are rebuilding confidence. You are learning how to believe in yourself again. And nobody told you that. Nobody told you that improving in English isn't just about practice, it's about permission. Permission to try. Permission to mess up. Permission to grow slow. Permission to be human. The real weight. You're not just carrying English books, you're carrying pressure. Pressure to sound smart. Pressure to be fluent quickly. Pressure to never make a mistake. You're carrying shame. Shame from being corrected. Shame from someone laughing at your pronunciation. Shame from your own voice not sounding perfect. You're carrying fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of not being enough. And here's the truth. You cannot grow when you're carrying that much fear. Fear doesn't create fluency. Shame doesn't create confidence. Pressure doesn't create peace. How children learn, and why you forgot. How think of a child learning their first words. They don't study. They don't overthink. They don't get embarrassed when they say things wrong. They play, they try, they laugh, they repeat, they listen, they live in the language. No shame, no pressure, no deadlines. But somewhere along the way, we forgot how to learn like that. We made language a performance, a test, a badge of worth. And that's when we stopped improving. The real reason. You're not improving. So here it is. The real reason you're not improving in English is not because you're bad at languages. It's because you're not emotionally safe enough to grow. You're trying to bloom in a space that makes you shrink. You've turned learning into judging. You've turned mistakes into shame. You've turned speaking into fear. No one can thrive in those conditions. Not you. Not anyone. And the good news? You can change it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fast. You just have to be free. Free to try. Free to sound silly. Free to say the wrong thing and still feel okay. A new kind of English practice. What if you practiced English like you were watering a plant, not fixing a broken machine? What if you saw every mistake as proof that you were growing, not failing? What if you believed that your voice matters, even if it's slow? That your story matters, even if your grammar isn't perfect? That your heart can speak, even if your words are simple? Because it does. It all matters. And the moment you believe that, you'll start to improve. Not just in English, but in everything. You don't need more vocabulary. You need more truth. You've probably been told that learning English means learning more vocabulary, that you need to know 10 new words a day, that you need to memorize lists, that you need to pass tests. But let's be honest. You already know a lot of words. You know what beautiful means. You know what remember, forget, maybe, really, and of course, mean. You've heard phrases like, "Can I help you?" "Nice to meet you." "I don't understand." So why do you still feel like you can't speak? Why do you still freeze in real situations? It's not because you don't know enough words. It's because you don't feel safe enough to use them. You know more than you use. This is a truth that many learners never realize. You already know enough to speak. You just don't trust yourself to speak. That's the real gap. Not knowledge, but confidence. Not grammar, but courage. Not vocabulary, but permission to speak imperfectly. You've been trained to wait until you're perfect. But perfection is a moving target. You never reach it, so you keep waiting. And in that waiting, you get stuck. What's holding you? Back isn't English, it's fear. Let's talk about what fear sounds like in your mind. What if I make a mistake? What if I sound stupid? What if they laugh at me? What if I forget a word in the middle of my sentence? Fear makes everything heavier. Even one sentence feels scary when fear is sitting beside you. You pause too long. You lose your train of thought. You stop speaking halfway through, and afterward you say, I'm just not good at English. But it's not English that failed. It's fear that stole your voice. The three voices inside you. Inside every English learner, there are three voices. The critic that says, you sound wrong. The student that says, I want to grow. The guide that says, you're doing just fine. Keep going. Most people only hear the critic, the one that judges, the one that compares, the one that remembers every mistake. But what if you gave more space to the guide? What if you told yourself, it's okay to pause? It's okay to forget. It's okay to sound different. I'm still learning, and that's enough. Your improvement doesn't begin with grammar. It begins with grace. The lies we believe. There are lies we carry in our minds that hold us back for years. If I make a mistake, they'll think I'm stupid. If I speak slowly, I'll sound weak. If I can't say it perfectly, I shouldn't say it at all. If I don't understand everything, I'm not ready. These lies are strong because we've heard them from others, or we've repeated them to ourselves for so long they became truth. But here's the real truth. Mistakes are part of fluency. Struggle is part of growth. Slow is still progress, and silence is not failure. It's a pause. Nothing more. You don't need to believe those lies anymore. You're allowed to let them go. What fluency actually looks like. People think fluency is about sounding fast, smooth, and smart. But real fluency, it's about being understood. It's about expressing yourself clearly, even with simple words. It's about staying in the conversation, even when it gets hard. It's about having the courage to say what you mean, even if your accent is strong or your grammar isn't perfect. Fluency is not speed. Fluency is flow. And flow comes from freedom. Freedom to speak. Freedom to try. Freedom to grow. Without fear chasing you. The power of one sentence. Sometimes, learners feel stuck because they think they must speak perfectly or say a lot. But one simple sentence can change everything. Can you say that again? Slowly. I'm learning. But I want to understand. I don't know how to say it, but I'll try. Please help me with the right word. When you say things like that, you give yourself room to breathe. You create a space where learning is allowed. You turn the conversation into a classroom instead of a test. One sentence, with honesty, is stronger than 100 rehearsed ones. Stop practicing to impress. Here's a hard truth. A lot of learners practice to impress others, not to express themselves. They want to sound smart, sound advanced, sound like a native speaker. But that pressure creates distance. You start performing. You start hiding. You stop learning. Stop practicing to impress. Start practicing to express your needs, your ideas, your stories, your voice. The more you express, the more your English grows, naturally, honestly, freely. You're closer than you think. Sometimes we think improvement is far away, but more often, it's closer than we think. It's in the sentence you almost said yesterday. It's in the podcast you almost finished. It's in the moment you almost replied in English, but switch to your native language. You're not failing. You're close. You just need one more try. One more sentence. One more gentle step forward. You're not starting from zero. You're building from the middle. And the middle is where most victories begin. Your habits speak louder than your words. Most people think that fluency comes from study time, that if you spend enough time reading, writing, listening, and repeating, eventually, English will click. And, yes, practice matters. But what matters even more is how you spend your time when you're not practicing. Because here's a truth that might surprise you. Your English is shaped more by your daily habits than your study hours. Why? Because language is not just an academic subject. It's a rhythm, a voice, a lifestyle, and the way you live becomes the way you speak. The noise in your life. Let's start with something simple. Ask yourself, what's the first thing you hear in the morning? Do you hear silence? Your own voice? Peace? Or do you hear notifications? News updates? Noise? Most. People wake up and immediately go into reaction mode, scrolling, comparing, rushing, and before they even begin their day, their mind is full. No space, no peace, no energy. Now try learning English in that mental space. It's like trying to plant a flower in concrete. You need silence. You need space. You need stillness. Not just to speak English, but to hear yourself think. The real energy drain people often say, I don't have time to learn. But the truth is, it's not about time. It's about energy. Because even if you have 2 hours a day, if your mind is tired, if your emotions are heavy, if your heart is distracted, you won't absorb anything. It's not the clock that blocks your progress. It's the clutter. So ask yourself, what's draining your energy every day? Is it comparison? Is it perfectionism? Is it trying to do too much, too fast? Your learning needs room to breathe. The magic of micro moments. You don't need hours of practice to improve. You just need moments used well. 5 minutes of shadowing a sentence. 3 minutes of mirror talk. 1 minute of thinking in English while brushing your teeth. These micro moments are like drops of water. One drop feels like nothing. But over time, it fills a whole jar. And that jar? That's your fluency. Stop waiting for the perfect study session. Start using the small moments you already have, the habit of speaking alone. There's something powerful about speaking alone in the kitchen, in the car, in front of the mirror, while folding laundry. You don't need a teacher. You don't need an audience. You just need your voice and your willingness to try. Speaking alone trains your brain. It builds confidence. It removes the fear of judgment. And most importantly, it proves to your subconscious, I am allowed to speak English, out loud, in my voice. That's a small shift with a big result. Listening is a mirror. Think about this. What you listen to the most shapes the way you speak. If you listen to drama, gossip, or anger, your words start to carry that tone. But if you listen to calm, clear, thoughtful speech, your English starts to reflect that too. Choose podcasts, shows, and voices that make you feel good. Not rushed, not confused, not ashamed, because you become what you consume, and your ears are doorways to your fluency. What you repeat becomes real. Let's talk about repetition, not just repeating English phrases, but repeating thoughts. If every day you say, "My English is bad, I can't remember words, I'll never be fluent," then those beliefs become stronger, and your brain starts looking for proof to support them. But if every day you say, "I'm still learning," and that's okay. Every mistake teaches me something. I'm growing, even when I don't see it. Then your brain builds new roads that lead to freedom, to courage, to growth. You don't need better grammar first. You need better self-talk. Fluency is a lifestyle, not a task learning. English is not like doing laundry. It's not something you finish. It's more like caring for a plant. You water it. You give it light. You remove the weeds. You show up even when it grows slow. Some days, it looks the same. Other days, you see a new leaf. That's how your English grows. Not in a straight line, but in seasons. You're not behind. You're becoming. And every small habit is proof that you're still in the game, still moving, still learning, still showing up. Fear, shame, and the invisible wall around your voice. Let's go deeper now, because even if you know the right methods, even if you have time, habits, and vocabulary, there's still something that can block your progress, and it's not in your mouth. It's not in your grammar. It's in your heart. It's the emotion behind your silence, the invisible weight behind every sentence you hold back. Let's name it. Fear, shame, embarrassment, comparison. These emotions create a wall, right between your knowledge and your voice. You know the word, but you don't say it. You've been there. You know the word. You know the sentence. You even practiced it yesterday. But when it's time to speak, you freeze. You doubt yourself. You feel small, and you walk away thinking, "I failed again." But you didn't fail. You froze, because your body remembered something, a time someone laughed at your mistake, a moment you were corrected too harshly, a memory of being judged, rushed, or made to feel less. That memory still lives in you, and it speaks louder than your lessons. Shame is a silence maker. Shame says, "You should be better by now. You sound stupid. Everyone is watching. Don't speak. You'll embarrass yourself." Shame doesn't just make you quiet, it makes you question your worth. And the truth is, you can't build confidence on top of shame. You have to remove it. Gently, kindly, patiently. Shame is not your fault. It came from outside, but now it's living inside, and it's time to let it go. The voice inside your head, most of the time your biggest critic, is not your teacher, not your classmates, not the stranger online. It's you, the voice that says, "You're too slow. You sound terrible. Why are you still making mistakes?" That voice follows you everywhere. But here's something powerful. You can teach that voice a new script. You can rewrite the story it tells you, with gentler words, kinder thoughts, braver sentences, because if you wouldn't speak to a child like that, why would you speak to yourself that way? The power of self-permission. Do you know what most learners are really waiting for? Permission. Permission to speak. Permission to mess up. Permission to be slow. Permission to sound different. They're waiting for a teacher to say, "It's okay," but you don't have to wait. You can give that permission to yourself. Right now, right here, in this exact moment. Say it out loud if you can. I am allowed to speak English, even if I'm not perfect. I am allowed to take up space with my voice. I am allowed to learn without shame. Your improvement begins the moment you feel safe inside your own mind. The danger of comparison. Let's talk about the thing that steals more energy than anything else. Comparison. You watch someone on YouTube speak fast, and you feel slow. You'd hear your friend speak fluently, and you feel stupid. You read a comment full of perfect grammar, and you feel behind. But here's the truth. You don't see their beginning. You don't see their mistakes. You don't see how many hours they struggled. You're comparing your process to someone else's highlight reel, and it's not fair to you. Your journey is not supposed to look like theirs. It's supposed to look like yours. Messy, honest, brave, turning. Fear into fuel. Fear doesn't disappear. It's part of learning, part of speaking, part of being seen, but fear can change form. It can become fuel. Fuel to show up anyway. Fuel to speak even if your voice shakes. Fuel to say, "Yes, I'm scared, but I'm growing." Every time you speak English while feeling fear, you get stronger. Every time you push through the shame, your brain rewires. Every time you allow yourself to be seen, you become more fluent, more confident, more you. Speak like nobody's judging. Imagine this. What if you could speak English in a room where no one laughed, corrected, or rolled their eyes? What if every mistake you made was met with a smile? What if you could just talk, freely, imperfectly, beautifully? That room exists, and it starts in your own mind. You have the power to create that space, to be your own encourager, your own safe zone, your own biggest supporter. That's where true fluency lives, not just in the words, but in the feeling behind them. Breakthrough moments, real stories, real change. Let me take you into the lives of real people, ordinary learners, just like you, people who studied English for years but still felt stuck. They thought something was wrong with them. They thought they'd never speak fluently, until one small shift changed everything. These are not magic stories. There's no secret shortcut. There's just truth and transformation. Let's begin. Story 1. The woman who always stayed silent. Her name was Asha. She had studied English for more than 12 years. She could read novels. She could write long messages. She passed her grammar exams with good scores, but when it came time to speak, she froze. Every time someone asked her a question, her heart would race. Her hands would sweat. Her voice would disappear. She told herself, "I'm not confident. I'm not good at speaking. I'm just a quiet person." But inside, she didn't want to be quiet. She wanted to connect. She wanted to join conversations. She wanted to stop hiding. One day, her teacher gave her an exercise. Talk to yourself for 5 minutes every day, out loud. No pressure, no rules, just talk. Asha laughed. It sounded silly, but she tried it. She started by describing her room, then her breakfast, then her childhood. Each day, 5 minutes turned into 10. 1 month later, she joined a speaking group online. For the first time, she introduced herself without freezing. Her English didn't become perfect, but her fear became smaller. Her voice became stronger, and she said something she hadn't said in years. I'm not silent anymore. Story 2. The man who compared himself to everyone. His name was Rafael. He lived in Brazil. He loved American TV shows. He watched hours of English content, but every time he heard a native speaker talk quickly, he felt defeated. I'll never sound like that, he told himself. My accent is too strong. My grammar is too slow. So he stopped trying. For a whole year, he didn't practice speaking at all. One day, a friend asked him, "Why did you give up?" He answered, "Because I'll never be like them." And his friend said something simple. "Why do you need to be like them? Why can't you just be you? In English?" That one sentence hit him. He didn't need to sound like an actor. He just needed to be himself in another language. So Raphael stopped copying accents. He stopped chasing perfection. He started focusing on clarity, connection, and being real, and that's when things began to shift. Today, he runs an online business in English. He makes videos with subtitles. He teaches others how to speak naturally, with their own voice. His new motto is this: fluency is not imitation, it's communication. Story 3. The Girl Who Spoke. Too Fast Lena was from the Philippines. She wanted to impress people with her English. So she practiced speaking fast, very fast. She memorized long sentences. She answered quickly, even when she wasn't sure. People told her, "Wow, your English is amazing." But inside, she felt empty, because she wasn't really expressing herself. She was performing. One day, in a job interview, the manager asked, "Can you tell me what you love most about life?" She froze. She didn't have a memorized answer for that. She couldn't speak from the heart, and for the first time, she realized speed doesn't mean strength. Fluency is not about fast talking. It's about saying what matters. After that day, Lena changed her practice. She slowed down. She started journaling in English. She gave herself permission to pause and think. Now, when she speaks, she's not trying to impress. She's trying to connect. And that makes all the difference. Story 4. The boy who thought he wasn't smart called. Grew up believing he wasn't smart enough to learn English. He struggled in school. His teachers moved too fast. He felt invisible. By the time he was 20, he had already quit English 4 times. He thought, what's the point? My brain doesn't work that way. But one day, someone gave him a podcast in slow English, just like this one. The speaker didn't rush, didn't use big words, spoke like a friend. And for the first time, Khaled understood every word. Tears filled his eyes, because it wasn't just the English that touched him. It was the message. You're not broken. You're just learning in the wrong environment. He started listening every day. He started shadowing the speaker's voice. He spoke alone at night, without shame, and slowly. Things changed. Today, Khaled teaches beginners because he remembers what it feels like to be left behind. He says, I don't teach English, I teach people how to believe again. Your breakthrough might be quiet. Sometimes we expect change to come like lightning. Loud, fast, big. But most breakthroughs are quiet. A sentence you whisper to yourself. A mistake you stop punishing. a small decision to try again, one more time. That's where your power lives. In the quiet decision to keep going, in the courage to try again, with kindness. In the moment you stop saying, "I'm not improving," and start asking, "What's one thing I can try today?" With love, because love moves things that pressure never could. The practices that actually lead to real improvement. You've heard this many times. Practice every day. Watch English shows. Read books. Use English in real life. But no one tells you what to do when those things don't seem to work. When you're trying, but still stuck. When you feel tired, discouraged, and confused. So let's stop for a moment. Let's clear the noise. Let's go back to the basics, the things that actually help you grow. These are not magic tricks. They're small, real practices that thousands of learners have used to unlock their voice. And you can, too. Practice number 1. Speak first. Then, fix. Most learners make one mistake again and again. They wait to speak until they're ready, until their sentence is perfect, until their accent is clear, until they've translated the whole thought in their mind. But here's the problem. You will never feel fully ready. Perfection is a trap. You plan, 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 and say nothing. That's why the first powerful practice is this. Speak first, then fix later. Say it out loud, even if it sounds wrong, even if you're missing words, even if you need to start over. Once you speak, your brain has something to work with. You learn by moving, not by waiting. Practice number 2. Shadowing with emotion. You've probably heard of shadowing. It means listening to English and repeating what you hear in real time. But there's one thing most people forget. Emotion. Don't just repeat words. Repeat feelings. When the speaker is angry, be angry. When they laugh, let your voice smile. When they pause, pause with them. Shadowing becomes powerful when it's real. You're not copying a robot. You're becoming a speaker. Even 5 minutes a day can change how you sound and how you feel. Practice number 3. Mirror talk with a twist. You may have tried this before. Look in the mirror, talk to yourself, practice speaking, but here's the twist. Don't just talk about your day, talk about your truth. Say things like, "Today I felt nervous." In English, "But I'm still showing up." "I'm proud of myself for trying." "Mistakes don't scare me anymore." "I'm learning." "I'm growing." "I belong." When you look in the mirror and say those things in English, you start healing the part of you that's been afraid to speak. It's not just language practice. It's emotional strength training. Practice number 4, talk in pictures. When you don't know the right word in English, most people stop speaking. But here's a trick. Don't stop. Describe. If you don't know the word for hospital, say, "It's the place where sick people go and see doctors." If you don't know the word for fireworks, say, "It's the bright, colorful lights in the sky at night during New Year." When you talk in pictures, you keep the conversation going. You become creative. You train your brain to think in English without fear. It's not about the perfect word. It's about communicating your idea, and that's what real fluency is. Practice number 5. Listen with curiosity, not stress. Most people listen to English with tension. What does that word mean? I didn't catch that phrase. What if I don't? Understand this whole video? But tension blocks memory. Here's the shift. Listen like a child, with curiosity, with joy, with interest, not judgment. You don't need to understand every word. You just need to stay present. Let English enter your ears like music. Feel the rhythm, notice the tone, guess the meaning, and trust. Your brain is learning even when you don't realize it. Practice number 6. Thinking in English. One moment at a time. People say, you need to think in English, but they never say how. So here's how. Start small. Don't try to think all day in English, just choose one moment. Like, what will I wear today? Say it in English. What do I want for dinner? Say it in English. How do I feel? Right now? Say it in English, one thought at a time. That's all you need. And when your brain gets used to that pattern, you'll stop translating. You'll start flowing. That's how English becomes part of you. Practice number 7. Write to express, not impress. Don't write essays just to look smart. Write to feel free. Write like this. A message to your future self. A short story about a mistake you learned from. A note to your younger self in English saying, I'm proud of you. A simple list of things you love in English. Writing is not only for classrooms. It's a mirror. It shows you what you believe. It helps you heal the part of you that's afraid to speak. Your English doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to be honest. Practice number 8. Celebrate small wins out loud. We often ignore progress. We only focus on what's missing. But here's the truth. If you don't celebrate your small wins, you'll never feel your big ones. So say this out loud. Today, I understood a full sentence without translating. I said hello to someone in English. That's brave. I spoke one full paragraph out loud. I'm proud of that. I didn't quit today. That matters. Progress is not about fluency today. It's about courage, consistency, and compassion. That's what keeps you growing. Not pressure, but presence. Slow learners, quiet speakers, and the confidence you didn't know you had. There's a lie many learners believe, that if they're not improving fast, if they don't speak quickly, if they still forget words, they must be a slow learner. But let me tell you something gently, truthfully, and with love. You are not a slow learner. You are a deep learner, a thoughtful learner, an intentional learner, a learner with a real life, real emotions, and real pressure. And the fact that you're still showing up, that already makes you strong. Let's talk about that kind of strength. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. The world often rewards loud speakers, people who dominate conversations, people who speak fast, people who sound confident. But not all confidence is loud. Some confidence is quiet. It's found in the person who pauses before speaking, the person who listens deeply, the person who waits for the right words instead of rushing. That kind of speaker builds trust. That kind of speaker creates space. That kind of speaker becomes unforgettable. If you're quiet, thoughtful, or shy, you are not behind. You have a different kind of power, and English can become your voice without changing your personality. Faye, truth about slow progress. Let's talk about progress. Real progress is not always exciting. Sometimes it looks like this. You hesitate for 3 seconds instead of 10. You understand 60% of a podcast instead of 50%. You speak 2 full sentences before switching languages. That's progress. But it's quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't win awards, but it matters. Because growth is not always loud. Sometimes it's slow, gentle, steady, and that's the kind of growth that lasts. Why it's okay to take longer. Every learner has a different timeline. Some speak fluently after 1 year. Some take 5. Some are still nervous after a decade. And then something finally clicks. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means your brain learns in its own beautiful way. Taking longer doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're building deeply. And deep roots grow slow. Don't rush your fluency. Respect your rhythm, because slow growth is still growth. And the finish line isn't fluency. It's freedom, the hidden strength of the struggler. If you've struggled with English for years, you've already built something others haven't. Resilience. You've faced doubt and kept going. You've been misunderstood and tried again. You've made mistakes and still returned. That's not weakness. That's mental strength. Fluency doesn't start with perfect grammar. It starts with refusing to give up. And if you're listening right now, that means you haven't, and that makes you powerful. Confidence is a habit, not a feeling. Most people wait for confidence like it's a prize. They think, once I'm fluent, I'll feel confident. Once people compliment me, I'll believe in myself. Once I stop making mistakes, I'll speak freely. But confidence doesn't come later. It's built now, in the daily choice to show up, in the small acts of bravery, in speaking when your voice shakes. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a habit you practice. And every time you open your mouth, you're building that habit. Brick by brick, you are allowed to be proud. Here's a sentence many learners need to hear and say, I'm proud of myself. You don't need to be fluent yet. You don't need to win a speaking contest. You don't need to have perfect pronunciation. If you are trying, if you are learning, if you are listening to this right now, then say it with me. I'm proud of myself. Because you are doing something brave. You are choosing growth over comfort. And you are becoming a better version of yourself, day by day. You are not alone. Sometimes the journey feels lonely. You struggle alone. You study late. You compare yourself to people who look like they've figured it all out. But here's the truth. There are millions of people, just like you, learning quietly, trying again, fighting self-doubt, speaking into mirrors, celebrating small wins in silence. You are not the only one. You are part of a global family, a group of quiet fighters, and together we're building something beautiful. World where English doesn't divide us, but connects us. The mindset that changes everything. Let's pause for a moment. Take a breath. Slow down. Notice how far you've come in this journey. Because now we're going even deeper. Into the part of language learning that most people ignore. Your mindset, your beliefs, the way you speak to yourself. Because here's the truth. You don't speak the way you practice. You speak the way you believe. Let's change that belief. Together, your beliefs shape your words. Most people think English is only about practice. But before you open your mouth, your brain makes decisions. It decides, can I do this? Do I deserve to speak? Will I be understood? Will I be accepted? These beliefs happen in seconds, silently, and they shape every sentence. You can have perfect grammar, but if you believe your voice doesn't matter, you'll stay quiet. You can know 3,000 words, but if you think your accent sounds ugly, you'll hide. So what we need to change is not just your language. It's your story.